Friends, we are about to begin the service for Mrs. Zimmerman. I would please ask you, if you have a cellular phone, to please turn it to the off position. If you're able, I would ask you to please rise as the family is escorted inside. You may be seated. Officiating our service today will be Rabbi Fern Zimmerman.
That was quite an introduction. We're here to honor the memory of my great-aunt Fern, Vega Miriam Baschava. She leaves behind quite a legacy. This is a family that I've been close with my entire life. There's Marty and Gail, their children, Aaron, Ariella, Aviva and Elie, and Yosef, their grandchildren, Liam and Tali, Howie and Linda Zimmerman, Michael and Jordan Zimmerman, their sons, Harrison and Evan, Jennifer and Josh Barr, their children, Harper and Micaela, Stefanie and Lars Gouwerok, and their children, Olivia, Willem, and Lilah, Susie and David Diamond, with their children, Michael and Robyn Diamond, Craig Diamond, and his children, Max Diamond, Jake and Rosie, Rachel and Jeff Kanterman, and their child, Maeve, thank you, and Howie Diamond. I'm going to start off with a psalm that is usually said at funerals. It's Psalm number 15. You don't have to say it together with me. I'll say it in Hebrew first, and then afterward I'll say it in English. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai, mi agur ba'alecha, mi yishkom bahar kadshecha, holech tamim ufol tzedek v'dover emes bilvavo, lo rogal lo leshono, lo asa lo reu ra, v'cherpa lo nasa al krovo, nivze be'enav nimos, ves yirei Adonai yichabed, nishpa lo hara v'lo yamir, kaspa lo nasam b'neshech, v'shochad al naki lo lokach, ose ele lo yimot leolam. A song of David. Lord, who will live in your tent? Who may dwell on your holy mountain? Only one who walks in purity, does what is righteous, and speaks the truth from the heart. He has no slander on his tongue, nor has done harm to a fellow, nor casts disgrace toward a neighbor, in whose eyes a contemptible person is repulsive, but who honors those who are in awe of the Lord, who swears truthfully, even to personal hurt, and never retracts, who does not lend money on interest, nor takes a bribe against the innocent. One who does these things will never falter. With what can only be described as a form of what we'd call in Hebrew Ruach HaKodesh, or possibly divine inspiration. Last Friday, a week ago Friday, my wife turned to me and said, "Why don't we use Auntie Fern's tablecloth?" I got married 22 years ago. And 22 years ago, we got gifts, and the gifts were all over the place. Plates and forks and cups and tablecloths. Very few things have made it to today. I have 7 kids, thank God. very few things in my house last more than 6 months. But this tablecloth was handmade by Auntie Fern. And my wife loves this tablecloth. Now, we're living in a world where everything needs to be fancy. We need to have gold tablecloths and make sure that everything matches it, and silver tablecloths and everything needs to match it. And we were getting our stuff together for Shabbos. This tablecloth, which is a perfectly white tablecloth with embroidery all around it that says Shabbat Shalom v'Yom Tif Shalom, has a picture of a little candelabra, challahs, and wine. This is my wife's favorite tablecloth. She said, we should take it out. We should use it. I said, of course, not a problem. I put it on the table. What a fitting, appropriate message that Auntie Fern was sending to us on her last Shabbos here on earth. We live in a world that is so complicated. We live in a world that is filled with so many complexities. And we try to make sense out of what should be so simple, should be so very simple. And what we love the most about this tablecloth is that Auntie Fern was able to make something great out of the simplest of things. She lived a life where she very well could have been this fancy lady with the fanciest things and the greatest things out there. And yet she was perfectly fine with visits from her children and grandchildren. She lived to see her family. And she was so excited just to see my family, to see us around. And we were a little bit rambunctious, to say the least. Nonetheless, Auntie Fern treated us as she did everybody else she met, with the greatest respect, with the utmost care, and with a smile, because she truly loved everyone she met. That's what I remember about Auntie Fern. That's the type of person she was. The last interaction I had, it's also a little bit of hashgacha, what we call divine inspiration again, in that on Shabbos, just yesterday, the envelope that we sent to her for our daughter's wedding came back. It had never gotten to her apartment in Milwaukee, her condo in Milwaukee, and it was sent back. We got a message back from Auntie Fern. She couldn't be at my daughter's wedding, but we know that every time we saw her, she gave us the biggest smile. She was so happy to see us. She was so happy to see my children. She couldn't believe that I had grown so much. To be honest with you, I can't believe that I had grown so much that I was ready to marry off a daughter. It happened, I just don't believe it. And we truly believed that she was there for us anytime we needed her. We have a holiday coming up on Thursday. It's called Purim. Purim is a holiday in which Jews put on masks. They put on a costume. They try to say it's not what we are on the outside, but it's truly who we are on the inside that counts, and that's what matters. My Auntie Fern was unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable, at showing her true emotions. She didn't fake it. She didn't act like she was someone else or that she had to be something else. She did exactly what she thought, and it was always amazing and always appreciated. And that's something that's so rare to find in this world today. In a world of complications, in a world of complexities, to find a person who acted so simple, with such MS, with such truth behind her, it was someone that we always, and I speak for my family, we always looked up to her. I'm reading this letter on behalf of Jake Diamond. It's hard to put into words what a wonderful, exceptional human my Nanny Fern was to me. She was a happy person and exuded love and joy, which was contagious. And that's why everyone loved her. Everyone knew who Nonny was. Her favorite color was yellow. She loved yellow clothes and yellow flowers. It reminded her of the sun, and that brought her happiness. Rosie, Max, and I loved going to Florida on other adventures with her and Poppy. Now, she is reunited with Poppy. She's with her parents, friends, and other family members. I feel so blessed that I had my great-grandmother for 18 years. I would like to thank her caregivers, Teresa, Rowena, Vera, and Joy. I grew extremely close to her when I was also taking care of her. I love you, Nonny. Thank you, Jake. Now I'm going to call up family members. We're going to start with her son, Marty, and Gail Zimmerman.
Thank you, Svi. On March 11th, the 8th of Adar Sheni, my mom, Fern Zimmerman, at the age of 93, passed away from this physical world to a new and fully spiritual life in Olam Haba, the world to come. Which means my mom's soul now is finally free from all the suffering and discomfort she endured these past couple of years. God willing, her soul can now finally begin to peacefully rest and enjoy in the fruits of her many, many good deeds and actions she has fulfilled throughout her life. There's one phrase that sums up my mom. It comes most appropriately from the Ethics of Our Fathers, Pirkei Avot. Who is wealthy? The one who rejoices in their own lot all the days of their life. My mom surely rejoiced in all that life brought her, and she always expressed a tremendous gratitude and thanksgiving for all that she received in this wonderful storybook life both my mom and dad experienced together throughout their marriage. Everyone comes into this world with a specific mission in life. My mom's mission was a special mission, a mission to spread happiness, joy, and fun in all the small and large pleasures in life, especially when it involved her children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and the many close friends both my mom and dad had throughout their life. At home, my mom and dad both showed us on a daily basis the secret of having a long and happy marriage. They were a living example of two people with a kindred spirit. The love and concern for each other throughout their life was truly infectious. We were incredibly blessed to experience such a home life and incredibly fortunate to receive the life lessons coming from our home that ultimately shaped for the better the people we are today. My parents' influence was not only felt by their children, but equally by their 10 grandchildren, their 13 great-grandchildren, and God willing, one more coming soon in May. My mother also was a very social person, to put it mildly. She had throughout her life a truly unique, beautiful, and outgoing personality. She was the ultimate optimist, always willing to pitch in and do whatever was needed. Her outlook on life was a strong belief that everything, good or bad in life, would ultimately work out for the best. If you needed her, she was always there asking what she could do to help. Nonny and Poppy, as my mom and dad were affectionately called by all the grandchildren, were also the go-to people to have fun, relax, and just hang out. Whenever they visited my parents in Florida, which was often, their home instantly became the grandkids' resort and playground. Also, when Nonny and Poppy came home from Florida, some of Nonny's grandchildren, as the story goes, wanted a little bit more of Nonny time. So whenever they needed a break from school, the afternoon off, they would simply try to fake an upset stomach, headache, or some other nefarious unknown illness to be excused from school. If the nurses accepted their complaints, which I suspect didn't happen often, they knew they had a ticket to spend the afternoon with Nonny, having lunch, maybe a little shopping, and just hanging out with Nonny. Why? Because somehow Nonny's phone number was the number one person to call at the Wood Oaks Junior High School nursing office in the event of sickness. Nonny, being the person she is, for the most part, happily complied and picked up her grandchild up from the nurse's office, and knowing fully well that they were in perfect health. That's my mom, someone who can't say no, and someone who always enjoys a good time with her grandchildren, regardless of the circumstances. Both my mom and dad had literally dozens and dozens of close friends, and they were all family to us growing up. As long as I can remember, my parents' friends were always there during happy moments in life, and they were always present to comfort us and comfort each other during the sad and tragic moments as well. Happy or sad, they showed a remarkable sense of loyalty, respect, and love for one another. From my perspective, growing up in such an environment, it was a unique and rare gift for all who were privileged to experience it and to be part of my parents' circle of friends. Last, I would especially and publicly want to thank my sister Sue and my great-nephew Jake Diamond for the endless hours they spent with our mom as nurse, caregiver, and most importantly, advocate for our mom's health and well-being. I'd also, again, as Jake mentioned, thank our wonderful caregivers, Rowena, Chichi, Teresa. Our family could never have gotten through this ordeal without the loving and compassionate care they gave our mom. I also would like to thank Hashem, the God above, for arranging for myself and my siblings a true modern-day miracle. The privilege to have such a wonderful, loving, and understanding upbringing from two of the best parents one can possibly ask for. Mom, you will always be remembered and cherished for all your loving kindness and for all the blessings we receive from you. We love you, we miss you terribly, and we only wish an eternity of peace and happiness in the world to come.
I'm just going to speak briefly. I decided to talk as a daughter-in-law, which she always treated me like a daughter, even though she had a fantastic daughter, Susie. We are always left with the hard task of saying goodbye to our loved ones and finding a way to live in this world no longer inhabited by their love, their generosity of spirit, their physical presence, a world without them. Who did not love Mom, or Nonny, as her grandchildren and great-grandchildren called her? From the day I met my in-laws, they gave me unconditional love. Any daughter-in-law would have been happy with half the love that they honored me with, but I was gifted with so much more. Thank you, Mom, for setting an unbelievable example of the love a mother-in-law can give. You have set the bar high, and as I attempt to follow in your footsteps, may my children's spouses also feel that same intensity of unconditional love from me. Mom, I miss you dearly. May you be comfortable now and at peace.
Capture Nonny's spirit in words is not possible. I have a video clip that I took of Nonny meeting my son for the first time. She sat next to him on the couch and made faces so that he laughed uncontrollably. Nonny put all of her energy into making him laugh and smile, and she shouted with joy as if it was her first time seeing a baby laugh. That was Nonny. She was full of energy and life and brought so much happiness and warmth into everyone's lives. I watch that video every day and smile. Nonny loved her grandchildren and great-grandchildren with all of her heart. She expressed this in various ways: shopping for the girls, making us our favorite dishes when we'd come over, and showering us with gifts. Aviva and Nonny often went on whirlwind shopping sprees. Nonny, even in her 80s, could keep up with Aviva. And if you know how Aviva shops, that's saying something. A shirt wasn't enough. Nonny wouldn't let Aviva come home without a full outfit. Aviva needed a skirt, bag, shoes, other accessories to complete the outfit. Aviva reminded me that Nonny would only pay in cash, because in Nonny's words, no one needs to know how much I spend on my grandchildren. Nonny had the energy of someone a half-century younger, but she never lost sight of the fact that she was getting older. She would point out her wrinkles, or as Yosef called them, crinkles, to prove that. Nonny had a tradition to take all of her girls on a girls' trip for their 16th birthday. When Aviva turned 10, Nonny decided that she was not going to make it until Aviva's 16th birthday, so she went to Seattle with Aviva that year. Aviva's now 28, and Nonny could have gone on that trip with her full strength until just a few years ago. The immense love that we grandchildren received from Nonny is truly extraordinary. When we slept over at her house, we'd find candy under our pillow in the morning. Because of this, we call Twizzlers Nonny treats, her go-to candy at that time. Similarly, Nonny could not be found without a bag of gummy worms or Wigglies, because maybe she'd bump into one of her grandchildren and they were in need of candy to cheer them up. Nonny even let us sip ginger ale from her mother's priceless glass whiskey cups, because her grandchildren were little princes and princesses in her eyes, and it made us feel like royalty. Nonny's obsession with her grandchildren and great-grandchildren reached levels of dedication that are, looking back, astounding. To share a few of my own favorites, we visited Nonny and Papi once or twice a year in Florida. Unlike most normal families, we didn't use our grandparents' house as a convenient base for other external activities. No, Nonny's house was the main and only attraction in Florida. We refused to go to the beach or go to the amusement park because it was always more fun to stay home with Nonny and Papi. All the grandmas and potential grandmas out there, please take notes. When we landed in Florida, we were greeted with our favorite foods on the table and gifts on our bed. Our day would start at 6:30 a.m. Against our parents' wishes, Aviva, Yosef, and I would sneak quietly into Nonny's bed, where she patiently waited for us. Nonny would then kick out Papi and rush to the kitchen to prepare us breakfast in bed while we watched cartoons. She never once complained about the crumbs, and neither did Papi. In the afternoon, we hit the pool, and Nonny would prepare small hot dogs and salami with little shot glasses of ginger ale. We ate in the pool because at Nonny's house, the grandchildren were king. In the late afternoon, the boys would go fishing in the back, and girls did their nails or shopped. When I would catch a big fish, she would jump for joy and yell so loud it's surprising that the neighbors didn't come out. I don't think she cared much about the fish, but she was ecstatic to see how happy it made me. Nonny at some point bought a chocolate fountain and let us run wild. We had pictures of Yossi covered in chocolate from head to toe. Dinner was whatever we requested, and night was spent watching Jeopardy or playing cards. This perfect day was repeated until sadly we needed to go back to school. Given the choice to travel the world or to go to Nonny's house, we always chose Nonny. And my friends did as well. Nonny was the coolest grandma on the block. Once my best friend was in Florida at the same time as us, and I invited him to hang out at Nonny's house. He was treated to a typical day of swimming, hot dogs, salami, and fishing. To this day, he reminds me of that day and often asks how my Nonny is doing. When he heard that Nonny passed away, he sent me this text. "Aaron, I'm so sorry to hear about Nonny. Just such sad news. She was the best grandma. She will be so missed." I can go on and on about Nonny's unmatched tuna sandwiches, duck, mondo bread, butter cookies, Jewish spaghetti, and Jell-O. But to cut this short, Nonny set the bar very, very high for us. She was the best wife, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and friend. But instead of focusing on herself, she would repeatedly say that she had the best life, best marriage, the absolute swear to God, best, most handsome, most beautiful, smartest grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Nonny lived life to the fullest and was blessed with a full life. We love you, Nonny. May the memories we share of her be a blessing to her and a merit for us.
A packed house. I'm not surprised. It was either very late at night or early in the morning when I began to gather my thoughts about what I would say to you all today. My mother was dying, and all I could think about was how utterly peaceful I felt in her presence. and how at peace my mom was in her final hours. That's all I need to say about that. Because I'm not here to talk about her death, I'm here to talk about her life. Appropriate to the upcoming holiday, my mom's life was constant Purim, without the drinking. She didn't drink. She lived in a state of utter joy. Like Esther 4:14, she was born for a moment such as this, a moment that lasted 93 bliss-filled years. This is a direct quote from an interview my mother did for the StoryCorps archives in 2018. The question, what was the happiest moment in your life? Answer, the happiest moment of my life was everything. It was always happy. It was always something I cherished, and I still do. I had my Lori, the love of my life, wonderful parents, a wonderful brother and sister-in-law, wonderful children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and they are great. I am a very fortunate person, and I appreciate what they all have done to make it possible. Marty mentioned that the last few years of her life were tough ones. But what he didn't say was that they were happy ones. She told me, I wake up every day and thank God for the life I have. To live in gratitude wasn't something she aspired to do. It just came naturally to her, and she lived in gratitude. As she slowed down and couldn't do the things she used to do, she simply did new things she never thought she'd do. I remember calling Linda a few weeks ago, and I said to her, who would have thought Mom is doing wheelchair yoga? She moved recently to North Shore Place, and just like in high school, she soon became one of the popular girls. Well-liked by everyone, a sought-after dining companion, and she enjoyed all the activities offered. My mom loved music. She would be singing along to the standards and the daily live entertainment. She always had a ready smile for her favorite staff friend, Syra, who called her Nonny. They all called her Nonny. Marty mentioned her many friends, and I'd like to give a shout out to a couple of her besties who are here with us today. Lois Siegel is joining us via live stream. Famously, Lois and her husband Jeannie were my parents' double date on their honeymoon. And then there's my mom's friend Debbie Clyfield. She is here right there. And Debbie came today and had a present for my brother, a mask that said, "Kiss my tuchus." Was that the quote? That's Debbie. My mom is fun, Debbie's funny. They have a very special friendship. Ask Debbie to describe it, and she's at a loss for words, which for Debbie is really saying something. Anyone who knows my mom knows she's a very social person. Wednesday and Saturday nights were always date nights. After my dad died, their good friend Arnie Traeger stepped up, and once again, my mom had her date nights back. He treated her like a queen in the style to which she is accustomed. So I've talked a while now, and I never got to the part where I was going to tell you about my mom as a young woman. But it doesn't matter, because young or old, she never changed. She was always the person who drew friends like a magnet, who adored her family, who was affectionate, and was always made everyone who knew her feel better about themselves. Well, okay, so that reminds me. Lonnie and I just talked about it yesterday. She did have one less than stellar quality, which I'll share with you. My mom could be a little judgy. She had a certain look that could tell you whether you chose the right outfit that day, Or maybe you were careless with your hair or makeup. It was never insulting. It just made you want to be your best self. And that's probably my mom's superpower, bringing out the best in the people who loved her. So many people loved her. My mom was the heart of a ginormous extended family. It included cousins of cousins, in-laws and ex-laws, and ex-in-laws, her friends and the kids of her friends, our friends and our kids' and grandkids' friends. They all loved Nonny, Auntie Fern, Mom. In fact, on Friday, I got a voice message from Lilah, Mayan's mother, my cousin Joey and Becky's Makatunum, their in-laws, and we see her at family gatherings. Not that often, she lives in New Jersey. But she called me and she said, and I'm quoting, "I'm very sorry to hear about Auntie Fern. She always was such a beautiful lady and always gave me such love and happiness every time I saw her, and she will be missed." Here's another one from Micaela, a dear family friend of my sister-in-law, Cass, who, by the way, is technically my ex-sister-in-law for over 30 years, but we don't believe in exes in this family. So my mom is included in family gatherings. So she knows Micaela, and Micaela writes this: "Very, very sorry about your mother. While I didn't spend a lot of time with her, when I was with her, her presence would fill the room with kindness, intelligence, and goodness. I assure you that I feel sympathy for all of her descendants who will not be able to bask in her graces." And those are only a couple of an outpouring of love from mishpucha, from people who all felt loved by my mother. Loved by my mother. There was one person who loved her. Above all others. My father, of blessed memory. My mom was one half of a whole. Fern and Lori, Nonny and Poppy. You can't have one without the other. Their love never faltered. It only grew stronger and more precious with time. Their life together was a love story, without the sorrow or the hardship, just the happy ending. And now, as my mother's neshama begins its ascent to heaven, where she will be reunited with her beloved Lori, and her parents, and her brother, and her cousin Fran, my mother will be complete once more. What she leaves behind is her legacy, family and friends who strive to live as she did, in constant joy, with gratitude to God, and a gift of love that lasts forever. Thanks to technology, if it works, I can let my mom speak for herself. This is a clip from her 2018 StoryCorps interview.
Anything else you would like to share before we close? There's nothing I can say except thank you, my children, my grandchildren, my entire families and friends. Thank you for the life that you helped me to have, and I appreciate every minute of it.
If everyone would rise, the Kel Male. El Male Rachamim Shochein Bamromim Hamsei Menucha Nechain Al Kanfei Ashchina B'Mailos Kadoshim Utoirim Kezar Rakia Mazirim Es Nishmas Fega Miriam Bas Chava Shehol Olamo Shabas, her father, Marty, the father, her father. Basvi Hirsch, Shol Chalolamo, Bavu, Shanachnu Mispalim Baraskaras Nishmasa, Bigan Aiden Temenu Chasa, Lachain, Balarachamim Yasira, Beseser Knafav, Loilamim, Bitzror, Betzora Chaimis Nishmasa, Adonai Hu Nachlasa, Bisanuach, Bishalom Amishkava, Benoimar, Amen. God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant proper repose on the sheltering wings of your presence, in the lofty levels of the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament, unto the soul of Auntie Fern, daughter of Tzvi Hirsch, who has gone to a world and for whose memory we pray. May her repose be in paradise. May the Master of Compassion bring her under the cover of God's wings and bind her soul in the bind of life. May the Lord be her heritage. May she repose on her resting place in peace. And let us respond, Amen. You may be seated.
This concludes our service here in the chapel. The interment will take place immediately at West Lawn Cemetery in Norridge, Illinois. Following the interment, the family will be sitting Shiva. Shiva is listed completely for those of you who are present on the folder. For those of you who are on the live stream, it is listed on our website. Please note that the family has asked in lieu of flowers that contributions be made to a charity of your choice in Mrs. Zimmerman's memory. For those of you who are going in procession with the family to the cemetery, please make sure you obtain an orange funeral safety sticker. The sticker will be placed in the front passenger side of your windshield. We would also ask that you have your bright headlights and hazard lights on at all times on the way to the cemetery. For an additional measure of safety, the staff will be placing magnetic flags on the top of many of the vehicles throughout the procession. As we drive in procession today, I would ask that you please limit your utilization of cellular phones. Please drive as close as safety permits to the vehicle in front of you at all times. We want to avoid any large spaces or gaps in the procession, especially as we go through intersections. I'm going to ask the grandchildren and great-grandchildren to serve as pallbearers. At this time, we're going to escort Mrs. Zimmerman and the family and the rabbi outside.